हेलो एंड नमस्कार एवरीबॉडी। आज थोड़ा अच्छा वेदर है तो wanted to record my vlog on this whole Indo-China conflict that's underway on the Indian border, along with Pakistan starting to make some noise on the LOC side as well. So my thoughts on the whole subcontinental underpinnings and where I see this whole thing heading. So in my humble opinion, my forecast that before the end of the year we'll see a armed conflict in the subcontinent. Armed conflict is going to be between India probably will end up fighting a two-front war with China on the LAC side and Pakistan on the LOC side. India will come out victorious, and I'm saying it not being an Indian, of course, that plays certain role in my analysis, but also because the whole world is turning against this communist Islamist nexus in the subcontinent. The Indo-Pacific alignment is starting to take shape at a pretty rapid pace. India is a much more resilient culture and civilization, and I think it will survive and thrive post this. And Modi, of course, the leadership matters in these accounts, as a very strong leader who's going to perform brilliantly well in this moment of crisis as the armed conflict undertakes or starts to take shape in the subcontinent. Pakistan will join the party on the LOC front because of close nexus and alignment between China and Pakistan. China will have to jump into the conflict this time, primarily because of their CPAC Belt and Road Initiative being a marquee investment of BRI. The Xi Jinping has, and China's Communist Party has bet their entire strategic capital in it, along with real capital of about 60 to 70 billion, what they announced, but it could be way more or way less, who knows. There is absolutely no transparency coming out of that particular relationship. So with the stress of corona pandemic is going to start to show up in the world. You're already seeing what's happening in America. The Black Lives Matter movement is gaining traction, or certainly has become very significant. It was violent in the initial days, but now it's more non-violent. But because the pandemic has put so much stress on minorities' lives in America, that it's the various pressure points, and George Floyd's death was just sort of the last straw on the camel's back. And you can see a very similar things that will start to happen across the globe, and the stress will start to manifest itself in various pressure, sort of relieving fashion. तो minority community पे जो pressure बना है US में, because of so many deaths among the minority community because of pandemic, the racial divide, the unemployment, so all those things kind of led to this protest movement. China में क्या होगा कि जैसे कि रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड की इकोनॉमी अंडर प्रेशर में आ रही है, चाइना की एक्सपोर्ट इकोनॉमी श्रिंक होगी, चाइना की जो इंटरनल सोशल वल्नरेबिलिटीज़ हैं दे विल कम अप टू द फोर. Communist Party that never gets the right feedback from the ground, centralist controlled economy, they will react in a very nationalistic fashion, and to shore up their keep their flock of 1.3 billion 1.5 billion people together, they will show that the world is against us, so they'll have to open sub-front somewhere. They were hoping to make a big deal or big press out of big victory out of this LAC conflict in Ladakh with India, but India has stood up to them eyeball to eyeball. India is not giving an inch. Modi can't afford to give an inch, and it's not 1962 where Nehru was a runover. India has matured a lot. India is militarily equally competent and powerful, and can take China all in the mountains any day. Chinese army has never fought a war. It's a sissy army, 2-year, 3-year, conscript army. It's not a professionally run, and they have never faced a conflict. Yeah, they talk about a lot of technology, they can do this, but eventually battle boils down to man, face to face, eyeball to eyeball. And that's where Indian army battle hardened in Kashmir and the rest of the conflicts probably will prevail over Chinese army. So China will open a front if India's negotiations, India doesn't yield what China is looking for, and India can't afford to yield, because if Modi yields, BJP is gone, Modi is gone, and politically, Modi will be, in 40-50 years, they will talk of him equivalent to Nehru, which is not a very good thing for India's political and national future. Secondly, Indian army won't let that happen, because Indian army, what happened in 62, fought very well with Pakistan in 65, won that war, then again punched China hard in Natula in 67, and Indian army is too powerful, too full of pride that they will take a punch from China. This time India can't afford, will not, and is going to give back to China in its own language. So diplomatically, the conversations are going, all the noise coming out of there that India is holding its fort and pushing back. Diplomatically, China doesn't have much support from around the world, while India has the support of all the open democratic societies. Islamists, North Korea and Pakistan is of course making a lot of noise about China, what China is doing great. If you read their press, it's kind of pathetic how Pakistan has sold its soul to China for pittance. But you expect that from a runaway, rundown, unethical, non-democratic, mullah military-run nation like Pakistan. I mean, you don't expect anything of substance to come out of that. Now, coming to Pakistan, while Pakistan is going to jump in the fray because the coronavirus is just destroying the society. I mean, they are pauper as hell. They are asking for debt forgiveness. They did not put lockdown, so their death and pandemic called a runaway train is running to destroy Pakistani society. I think they have officially what they're recording is about 2,500 deaths, 125,000 infected. Their death rate and infection rate is more than double of India, and India is 6 times Pakistan in terms of population, is about 10 times of Pakistan in terms of economy. So India is controlling it much better. Even though overall numbers of India look huge, but if you look at per million basis, it's probably the smallest of all the middle income, developing and advanced economies. A lot of people doubt India's numbers, but I don't, because India is in that matter a lot more fair and open society. You can't hide deaths and numbers. There might be, let's say, even if you give 100% under reportage, still the numbers are not that bad. India's death rate is about 6 in a million. We give 100%, 12 in a million, peanuts. And even the infection rate of India is around 200 something in a million. Even if you give 100%, it becomes 200 something in a million, or 500 something, 400 something. It's still not that bad. People will have to learn to live with it. And some sort of societies, sensible societies that have a much better, what I call emotional quotients, much better education, much better grooming, much better civilization, probably will deal with it much better than a society like Pakistan, where nobody trusts anybody. Civilizational value is probably zero. They are sold to Pakistan, China for economy. Leadership is just clueless. That bozo Imran Khan is sitting Prime Minister chair, can't make up his mind on anything. And then mullahs and military, I mean, they are trying to save their own, power structure in Pakistan. So don't expect anything better coming out of Pakistan. Give it another 2 months. I think by July or August, you will see that either there is going to be an internal coup in Pakistan, where military will overthrow Imran, or he'll just be rubber stamped. He already has become rubber stamped. I think 60 to 70% of positions in Pakistani cabinet are run by ex-military guys. And I think once the pressure bubbles up a lot more, either military will do a coup, or military will have to tie up with China if India doesn't yield, to kind of open the fronts with India. Their best bet, they're thinking Pakistan will be hoping that China has enough armor, ammunition, and willpower to fight India long, prolonged war in the mountains, while they Pakistan on its own can't survive a war with India. But I think India has beefed up its assets and military and armaments and armed forces enough that it can take and handle a two-front war. And of course, in this two-front war, America will have to jump in and support uh, India quite a bit, at least if not overtly but covertly, through, call it digital assets from the sky, uh, platforms in the ocean, as well as platforms in the sky. While America will not put boots on the ground in this war, but that support itself is going to give enough oomph to India to take on both of these absolute bitches of adversaries and bring them down. Once again, I feel that Japan, Australia, all these open societies will back India into this war, because India's victory in this two-front Southeast Asian war is absolutely critical to put China in its place. And the rest of the world knows that if China beats India in this war, it will become a runaway train of absolute misery for rest of the world for coming 100 years. Just like Soviet Union had to be contained, any communist nation with that sort of and people behind it, 1.5 billion and 14 trillion economy, you have to contain them, otherwise communism will destroy the open democratic world order. Open democratic world order, whether you like it or not, it's not perfect, but still better than to live under a stupid communist assholes like Chinese. Look what they're doing to all the Southeast Asian countries, including their own Hong Kong. So who would love to live? I would rather be half poor than what I am today and live in an open society than be twice as rich as I am today and then live under a communist. I mean, you've got to be an absolute miserable bastard to even think of any other way. So with that, cultural and value system backing India, with all the open democratic Western societies along with Japan, America, UK, France, Germany, providing indirect support to India in this war, gives me confidence that India will beat the crap out of China and Pakistan in the armed conflict that's just staring at India very directly between the next 2 to 6 months. I also feel that as Pakistan starts to implode from inside because of the mullah and the stupidity of military and the absolute carelessness and incompetence of the society, this pandemic is going to create a chaos of unimaginable kind. And as soon as that starts to happen, military will have to show to keep the nation together, to attack someone and bring that nationalistic forward to redirect the focus and attention. And same as with China. As China comes under pressure because of global situation, they will have to open a front, and India seems to be, that's where they're starting to look at. So my advice to Indian strategists and the advisors and general public is, this is the most possible scenario. I would put 60% odd of this forecast coming true, and 80% to 90% forecast on if this happens, India will come out winner based on the rationale that I just laid out. If with all having said that, what is going to happen is once China loses the war, China is going to disintegrate. India's border will be once again with Tibet, which is going to be a friendly country. So Tibet is going to become free. I can see Xinjiang becoming free, Taiwan becoming a free nation, and Hong Kong. And in Pakistan side, Gilgit, Baltistan, POK will be merged with India. Baluchistan becoming a free nation, KPK going to Afghanistan, and this Punjab and Sindh becoming a free Sindh, Punjab becoming either integrated with India's Punjab or a free Punjab, and Pakistan breaking up into 4 or 5 parts. So this is my assessment, my forecast, my reading of what the situation on the ground is. China can't afford to retreat from its aggressive posture it has taken on LAC. India can't afford to retreat. India is not going to give an inch. These negotiations will drag on. India has already put armed all along the LOC. India is beefing up its strike force, and we are going to kick some Chinese butts. We are going to kick some Chinese communist assholes ass, and India is going to bring them down. run their faces bloody in the mud. And Pakistan, for all its everything, is going to die its own sweet death. It will try to create a noise before dying by attacking India, but will get decimated poorly. And I can see that there might be backroom generals already talking to the Indian politicians and generals for mercy, even before the war conflict opens. So with all that, welcome to the world of Southeast Asian war cries and battles. It will happen somewhere between September and December, whether we like it or not. I guess I have been saying it. That's what is needed to bring China down. Without an armed conflict, they are not going to come down. Good news is the assholes have started and opened the front on their own without invitation. So as they say, Vinash Kale Viparita Buddhi, when your bad time comes, you lose rationality and you drop in the ditch. So the Communist Party is going to fall down post that war. There will be tremendous amount of internal chaos and new nations are going to emerge. And what I'm very happy and proud of, that if in his lifetime Tibet becomes free, the Dalai Lama goes back, and the government in exile of Tibet out of India becomes government in power in Tibet, and India and Tibet live peacefully ever after, the Dharma rises again. And what a beautiful world that will be. Gilgit, Baltistan, Buddhist communities once again rise up. All the new converts of the last 100, 200 years who became Muslims in that part of the world become Hindu, Buddhist again. And the civilization reaches to its glory. And that will be the step. So that's what I'm projecting. That's what's going to happen. Good luck to Indian Army. And let's go and kick some Chinese communist butts.